Daily Gazette from up in Schenectady, New York,
Love it.
April 1st, 1999. Movie Matrix, a high-tech assault that will delight narrow audience. Matrix is a $60 million high-tech assault on the senses and a pretentious insult to the mind.
All right. I
It's
mean,
the kind
I thought your title was an insult to the mind, but go ahead.
It's the kind of movie kids over 15 and under 16 will think is cool, and one which slackers everywhere will hail as mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Others may interpret its fusion of religion, mythology, and Zen acrobatics as a stunning, intelligent venture into new intellectual territory. If so, you can bet their reading has been exclusively confined to comic books and 2-bit science fiction.
Okay. Okay. I mean,
A little close to home, Dave?
yes. It has more substance than any other action movie that had come out up to that point. I'm thinking about where action movies were in the 90s, and I'm just seeing Harrison Ford shouting, "Get off my plane," and punching somebody off of Air Force One.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
where action movies were.
It's spawned a lot of, like, actual futurism kind of thought processes of, like, um, simulation theory. Like,
Yeah.
are we actually truly in a computer sim I'm certain, that this is not the first movie, or this is not the first, work of fiction to posit that thought, but it's certainly the first mainstream one, to my mind, that kind of had this level of cultural significance, and one that had, every single person, if you said simulation theory to someone, their eyes would glaze over, and then
Mm-hmm.
you go, like the Matrix, and they go,
Right.
that.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, it's putting forward some pretty heady concepts that I wouldn't say are confined to 2-bit sci-fi,
I
but
also think that it's the movie's gonna have fans of all types just because, you know, 90s, emo slackers are also kind of like connect to it or connect to the visuals or whatever. That's not inherently a criticism of the movie
yeah.
necessarily. It's just that this appeals to them. It's like saying that, the toxic masculinity concepts in Fight Club have you can't even talk about them because too many people really like Tyler Durden. It's like, okay, but the movie is making deep, deep points. It's not the movie's fault that people don't get the depth and glom on to Tyler Durden as some sort of hero.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good comparison. Also a movie that came out in 99,
Yeah.
interestingly enough. But yeah, I think Fight Club is a good parallel for this, that, like, there's a group of people that see it for face value, that kind of miss a lot of commentary on it. It can serve as just a plain action movie by itself. You can kind of mentally just not want it to be more than that, and
Yeah.
you won't get more out of it than that. Um,
But it's
but I think
also
that speaks to what's good about it, is that, like, it kind of hits the mark for multiple kind of
and
things.
that's the thing. It's also the best we've seen at that surface level shit. Like as an
Yeah,
action movie, that first action scene spoils us for like 10 years
yeah.
about the wire work, the collection of CG combined with practical effects. Uh, like it's so crisp and it moves so fluidly, and she's jumping through the window and landing and pulling the guns out. Like it's doing, if all you want is mind-numbing, brain dead action movie, it's doing that better than anything else.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's
also asking you to think, but you don't have to, and you're still watching. That fight scene in the dojo is like absolutely spectacular, and it looks like both Lawrence Fishburne and Keanu Reeves are literal pro martial artists.
the work that had to go into that, because it is them as far as I know. Like, I mean, they had obviously had action coordinators and stunt doubles and those kinds of things that
But like
movies typically have.
long
But the
takes.
long take sequences, they did a lot of their own kung fu work, and it's incredible the amount of stuff they do. Also, we talked about the wire work, but the this is one of those movies where, like, for the time, it is we've already said, it's a paradigm shift in how action
Yeah.
is shot and performed on camera. It's an inflection point in movies where everything after this that comes even close to it is going to get compared to it. Um, that the amount, like, I'm sure, you can, if you haven't, you can look it up on YouTube, but the making of, where they shoot the scenes where Neo's getting shot at and he bends back, how they have to do, like, they have like 70 cameras lined up in a circle in order to get that shot, where it's not a circle pan, it's actual cameras that they have to merge all these shots together, and the amount of computer work, the green screen stuff. It's a $60 million movie where I feel like you see every dollar of that
Every
movie, every
dollar.
dollar of that, like, shown in the final cut of the film.
Yeah.
Then it's also full of just fantastic writing. It's just little scenes, little tiny scenes where, like, Keanu, they're fighting, and Lawrence Fishburne leans over and goes, like, "You think that's air you're breathing?"
Mhm.
And just the look on his face where he goes, like, "Okay."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Little scenes like that where it's like, man,
Oh,
they really planned and thought, and, like, it's just
they squeezed
they
out
understood.
they squeeze out every drop of potential fun you can have in this idea of a simulation. Every single, like up until like halfway into the movie or three-quarters into the movie, we're figuring out that, and to this day I still say this in my head, anytime I have deja vu, that's a glitch in the
There's a
matrix.
glitch in the Matrix. I think of it all the
I think of
time.
that all the time. And I'm like, I see what you're doing. I see what you're
Somebody's
doing.
edited the Matrix,
Somewhere
yeah.
Hugo Weaving is looking is having a frowny face.
So, you'll only like it if you're into comics and two-bit sci-fi.
Ugh.
Regardless, it's unlikely any negative assessment will keep teens and slackers, the movie's target audience, away from Matrix. A hodgepodge of other movies like Men in Black, The Terminator, 2001, and a host of kung fu specials.
I mean, no. It is wholly original in its aesthetic. In what way is it 2001 A Space Odyssey? In what way?
Science. It's because it's got science, Dave.
Because it has, oh right, because it has science
Because
in
it's
it.
got sciences in
I
it.
didn't think of that.
There are so many sciences in this movie that
I mean, and also the whole, like, I don't think anything we're gonna say is gonna keep those slackers away from coming to see this
oh,
movie.
this whole we're not even a quarter of the way into this. This whole review is just nerd shaming,
Yeah.
which was
Yeah.
completely socially acceptable in 1999.
Yep.
The idea, could you imagine this person writing a review of, like, Endgame? Like,
Oh my goodness.
you know what I mean?
I mean,
It's
I
like,
guess all these people who have been watching these movies for
yeah,
10 years might want to see how it wraps up.
sure, you sweaty nerds might like the special
Yeah.
effects, but yeah, it's just a knock on people who enjoy who enjoy computers, who enjoy futurism, who enjoy comic books, who enjoy, like, certain styles of action movies, highly stylized movies, basically, is what this thing is knocking.
Yeah.
Like that. And it's also, I think, one of the real hallmarks of this movie is that it took kind of niche themes, niche sci-fi elements, and brought them into the mainstream. Like we've said, simulation theory is now something anyone can immediately understand.
Oh, and it's
Uh,
absolutely based on a bunch of animes, the style.
mhm,
The
mhm.
Wachowskis watched a lot. Like they literally loved that aesthetic. I mean, I know this reviewer is not going to do this, so I'm going to say it now. Why don't you then speak to that audience if your point is they're still going to go see it, then talk to us. Explain to us how it was done better, where we're wrong in finding value in stories like this. Again, like, be proactive. Don't just like hem and haw and roll your eyes at, like, they're going to show up. Yeah. Yes, we
Yeah.
are.
I think that's the real that's the real knock I have with this, is like, this one is like, yeah, I guess you'll like it if you're a square, but like, it's like, okay, uh, yes, if you're into those things, you will enjoy this movie. Is not a reason to not like this movie if you're not into those things.
Right.
Like, it's not an explanation. There is zero explanation in this of why it's wrong to like those things, and why there's also no explanation really of why, if you're not into those things, this movie won't be good for you. It doesn't say, like, it says nerds are going to love it. It doesn't explain why, if you aren't into computer science, this movie is not any good.
Yeah, it's
Because what
literally.
this movie does do is open the doors of those kind of niche things and go, like, this is a world that a lot of people who don't know a lot about it could enjoy.
It's
Um,
almost like it's like this review is actively saying us normies don't go because you're going to be surrounded by a bunch of uggo
yeah, you're
nerds.
going to be a bunch of you're going to be surrounded by dorks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
that's what this is. I think it was a lot more socially acceptable to just crap on people for liking nerdy things.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember a big shift, maybe 5, 6, 7 years after this movie came out, where suddenly, like, nerd culture became pop culture.
Yeah.
They merged, and it was okay to like these
I
things.
think it came
And
with like X-Men, Spider-Man, and then the beginning of like kind of the Marvel universe and the
mhm,
Star Wars movies. There was just too, it went from like, here's a movie for the nerds to like everything at the box office is kind of like angling for that market. So
yeah,
all of a sudden it can't be like, oh, here's another one for the nerds. It
yeah,
kind of became like, well, the nerds are out again, you
yeah.
know, and yeah. I still
Um,
remember when I was working at a comic book store, guy walks in and he's wearing an elvish cloak and it had
ugh,
it had the
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 leaf, the
the
green
leaf.
leaf.
And I remember just kind of going like, like, oh, like that's really cool. And he goes, thank you. And I was like, are you like, going to like a movie or like a premiere or something? And he goes, no. And I remember just being like, right on, man.
Hell yeah, dude.